Morning. We're up on the Bradshaw Mountains today to talk about some anime. Tweeny Witches. Tweeny Witches is the whimsical English title Anime Works has given to its North American release of Mahou Shoujo Tai Alice. It's an anime fantasy story about a girl who falls into an alternate world where magic is real. The first volume is out. These are my first impressions. To be honest, I wasn't originally going to watch this series. Based on the title and the cover art, I'd assumed it was another magical girl series or maybe a harem show, and neither of those are my preferred anime subgenre. But a review in ADV's Peak Magazine and a piece on the Right Stuff's Anime Today podcast convinced me to watch it, and I'm really glad they did. Alice, or Arisu as Anime Works insists, is a young girl, grade school. She's gregarious, cheerful, and fun-loving. She's also really into fantasy stories about magic. One day, she literally falls into another dimension where anime witches and fairies are real. What makes Alice such a splendid heroine is she's completely unfazed and goes from nani to yatta in record time. This magical world is fine by her, almost a dream come true. However, it takes her no time at all to get in trouble with the local witches when she gets in the way of one of their fairy hunts. Because in this world, fairy hunting is an ancient and honorable magical tradition. Let me digress a moment. If you think fairies are cute-looking critters with gossamer wings like Tinker Bell, or Shakespeare's version, or some other classical version, well, Tweeny Witches has a different sort of fairy tale in store for you. There are 100 different species of fairies here, and none of the ones we've seen so far are what you'd call cute. The witches catch them and imprison them in a dungeon tower. That's just one of the many ways this show twists our expectations around. Alice is thrown into the dungeon as well, and placed in the care of the young witch Sheila, who's the Academy's discipline officer for apprentice witches. And with Ava, who's an apprentice herself, but a good friend of Sheila's. Not that being thrown into a dungeon is going to do anything to dampen Alice's high spirits. It only takes her a few minutes to make friends with her would-be jailers, share some tasty chestnuts she's carrying, get some broom riding lessons, escape, and free all the fairies on her way out the door.
It's so sweet, it melts in my mouth!
You know, if you really want to thank me for it, then I know something you can do.
What?
I don't know where that apprentice witch came from, but we can't look after her, nor would we want to. As leader of the discipline squad, I recommend that we keep her locked away here forever.
You're doing it wrong. Straddle it. You gotta straddle it to fly.
Oh, like this? How could that not hurt?
Who said you could let her out of her cage?
But Sweetheart asked me to. She wanted to try flying and gave me a chestnut, so...
A chestnut?
Yeah, it's a nut, but it's so sweet. You know, Sheila, I bet she'd give you one if you...
An edible nut? You mean...
That's right. Like she said, she's a human.
A human? Impossible! You can't be a human!
Well, it's a lot more believable than someone like you being a witch!
Then how is it you can fly? Human beings can't fly!
Didn't you know? As long as you believe with all your heart, anybody can use magic! Whoa!
Alice is a wonderfully unique character, and her indomitable personality is the driving force behind Tweeny Witches. Her boundless enthusiasm for her self-appointed tasks, her unshakable belief in her causes, her unflagging cheerfulness and friendliness, and her inexhaustible energy remind me a bit of Haruhi Suzumiya. Alice's newcomer status notwithstanding, she has her own way of doing just about everything. Her magical innovations aren't limited to just befriending the fairies and founding the Fairy Liberation Movement. She declares a new set of magical traditions all her own. She's got a new way to remember spells with catchy mnemonics, and a new modern sensibility for riding a broom that doesn't chafe quite so much. And she believes with all her heart that magic is supposed to be used to make people happy, not enslave fairies. And Alice is happy to tell off the headmistress witch herself, Atelia, as she insists on her own version of a just and fair magical society.
You must recapture every last one of those runaway fairies.
Get going! Yeah, get going!
No, wait a second! Now, I don't like the idea idea of you guys kidnapping those fairies, but you know what? These two did everything they could to get them back. So what do? You cast a spell so they can never grow up. Don't you think that's childish?
You can't talk to her like that!
Magic is supposed to make people happy. How can you make people unhappy and call yourself a witch? I don't believe this. Maybe it is a bad dream after all. Huh? There's no way this messed up place is really a magical world.
Who are you? Who in the world are you?
Tweeny Witches presents us with a remarkable fantasy world of weird and wonderful concoctions, with strange, ugly fairies, weird costumes, flying cars, unfolding towers, nutty buildings, and a communication system that reminds me of Maxwell Smart's Cone of Silence. The world has the same twisted design sensibilities as Terry Gilliam's Brazil. There's also a few longer story arcs going on. One involves Alice looking for a way to get back home to her own world and the surprise she finds when she gets to the point of departure, where apprentice witches who fail their exams are usually sent to the human world. Another is the mystery of an old spell book that Alice has, or had, and we all think Athalia is hiding something from her fellow witches as well. And finally, there's the small matter of the warlocks, because we have to have some guys around here someplace. Tweeny Witches tells its story at a breakneck pace. Maybe that's because it was originally shown as a set of short 10-minute episodes. It's been re-edited for the DVD release into pairs with a new opening animation that makes it look very much like the traditional 22-minute anime episode. The animation by Studio 4C works perfectly here, and as I said, the art designs are unique and amusingly twisted. Anime Works English dub worked pretty well. Alice's voice gets the enthusiasm level it needs, and they get a lot of help by not needing to do a lot of lip sync, since the viewing angles chosen by the animators mean a lot of dialogue is spoken while the virtual camera is pointed at something other than the characters' mouths. This is a truly fun video for the whole family. It's fun in a gently chuckle and smile sort of way, and you can impose it on the youngsters as well. Overall, I give Tweeny Witches, based on the first volume, 4.5 stars. Don't let the title put you off. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this one. Anime Works' first release contains 2 DVDs in the volume with over 3 hours of video to watch, plus some extras, plus some interviews with creator Keita Amaniya, subtitled in English. Thanks for listening.